Hey everyone, Andrew Reiner here, taking a look at what remains of Edith Finch. Apparently nothing, it's just blackness. Oh no, there's stuff. Joe Juba is going to be playing.
Yeah, hello.
And we have Elise Favis as well.
Hey.
Or as we like to call her, EF.
Yeah, or
in the
Elise
office.
Favis, you know. Whatever.
Oh, your initials match.
Yeah.
What remains of Elise Favis?
This is out now on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC.
Not Xbox One.
I take that back. It's out now on Switch, Mac,
iOS. No.
and iOS.
PS4, PC.
PS4 and PC. Okay.
All right.
And it looks pretty boring so far, Joe.
Yeah, so we're on this ship. This is a game. I don't like using the term walking simulator. I don't think that's I think that does a disservice to what games like this or games like Firewatch or Gone Home, the kinds of things that they can do. I really like, focusing more on just like these are storytelling games.
I like that. Yeah, it's walking simulator doesn't make it seem like much is going on.
Yeah, exactly. It's taken on a negative term or a negative connotation.
I don't know why we don't just call them narrative driven.
Yeah, well, and that's part of what's tricky is like narrative is such an important part of like so many games. Like a lot of games that are even combat focused are narrative driven and a lot, like this. What Remains of Edith Finch is largely just it's an interactive story, but I really like how it does. Like it keeps you in mind that you're sort of in this sort of storybook by the way words sort of form here and there and all that kind of stuff. So it's cool.
And tell us when to shut up, by the way. We kind of talked over that beginning. What were you doing there flipping through the book?
Yeah, so I mean your character there at the beginning is flipping through a diary. That's about it. But that brings us to the main events of what's going on, which is as a young woman named Edith Finch, you are returning to your family home from several years ago. After basically your whole family's either dead or disappeared.
Is that your home out there? Like,
yep, yeah, your house is where maybe we can't.
Yeah,
there's Tower from Tangled or Swiss Family Robinson. Like,
yeah, we'll see. The house is unique for sure. But see, like little things like this just give, a lot of these games are so focused on like dialogue, on narrative, and it's just interesting to have a nice little twist on that. It's not groundbreaking in that sense, but it's still like, it gives you a sense of presence in the way that a lot of these games maybe just have you holding a note and reading it slowly or something,
Yeah. It's a cool way to interact with the environment,
Yeah. So let's see, we're walking up to the house. So the main thrust here is that Edith, I think it's been about 7 years since she's been to this house.
or anyone, like even the male is 7 years old.
Yeah.
Intriguing. What's going on here, Joe?
Yeah. Well, you might have to play the story to find out. But the main sort of premise that to know about is that like the Finches as a family are horribly unlucky. And pretty much
the truth is,
well, maybe they'll even say it.
After I inherited the house, I never thought
Yeah,
I'd
don't
go
spoil
back
it.
to
Yeah, sorry.
Hey, developers, stop with the deer running away. I mean, Until Dawn, this game.
So
Any game with wildlife, there's always a deer in the road.
Now, what did you give this? What the score you gave it?
yeah, so the reviews on the site right now, I gave it an 8.75.
wow.
Which it's always scoring a game that is about storytelling is always a little tricky too.
Definitely.
Because like
As a child,
so much of it just has to do with like your personal experience with the story and how much you like it and if you think it's successful in the way it unfolds. I thought it was very successful.
Oh, wait, look down. Missing. What does that say? Milton Finch.
Yeah.
What is he got an ashtray on his head?
That's a little crown.
Oh. It's more likely there would be a crown on his head than an ashtray.
Yeah, let's hope so. It is an unlucky family, but
Yeah. So well,
now this looks
what?
pretty abandoned. This place,
Yeah.
I knew exactly what those
pretty
words
overgrown plants
returned to
everywhere.
the house.
Yeah, we're gonna see a bit of what's going on. So I don't think I'm gonna try to not talk
I hope
over
key
the
might
whole
have locked
thing.
The front
But
door. It didn't.
Yeah, slide through there.
I think you'll fit.
Looking in, I felt like the house itself had been waiting for me.
Look at all those books. What does it mean?
So, got to find a different way in.
I like the art style. Is very kind of has a Bioshocky, kind of cartoony, hyper realized kind of effect to it. Am I on the right path?
Yeah,
I mean the image we saw was actually of a kid, right? Like a photograph.
Yeah. I mean, it's got. This is a game that deals. I mean, it has people in it, but a lot of your experience is also with objects. So when it comes to people, they don't get hyper realistic. But the objects generally have.
Yeah, looks cool.
This is another one of those games, also kind of like Gone Home, where it's just fun to look at the sort of in-game branding on various items and books, and as we'll see,
look in the freezer.
There are lots of books. The freezer,
right there. Oh. Milton, is he in there? Oh,
bummer.
Not really.
Elise, that's dark.
What was I going to say? You were comparing this a lot to Gone Home, Joe, last time I spoke to you.
Yeah.
And you were saying you preferred this to Gone Home. So
Yeah.
that was interesting.
I don't want to, I mean, I really enjoyed Gone Home, and that was definitely like a pioneer, I think, in this style of game, right? Yeah. But what I think, for me, what makes this game stand out is that it's, like, there have been a lot of games that have followed in the footsteps of Gone Home in terms of, hey, let's explore an old house and piece together some clues. Or in the case of a game like, Firewatch, it's like, okay, let's really focus on like dialogue and characterization.
Yeah.
Whoops. So what ends up like, sorry, what ends up being interesting here is that it's more, I mean, so far we're just doing a lot of walking around, but as you'll see, like it does more than just make you piece things together through the environment. Mm-hmm. Like it uses environmental storytelling, but it also does more to sort of put you in those stories that you're piecing together.
The table was still a wreck from the night we left.
So as you get to the house, they're sort of introducing like, okay, what happened the night that you left?
Right.
Edie, whatever.
So you're Edith Finch, and that's Edie.
Interesting.
So you're essentially Edith Jr.
Clean your house.
Yeah.
Everything in the house looked abnormal. There was just too much.
But one thing, I mean,
like a smile.
One thing I like about just the environment here, I think is important to point out, is that these games can tend to have a sense of like, okay, we have a few tables, a few chairs,
right,
and we're just gonna like populate rooms, like so the rooms end up looking same-ish, and like with having the books everywhere, and just like the general architecture of the place.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel like one of those sort of paint by numbers mansions, Now,
there seem to be a lot of little details when you look around.
Yeah, and I mean, and speaking of that, so we looked at those salmon cans before, where they talked about her cat Molly, and you look around and like, oh, sure enough, there's Molly's cat bed, and like over here,
balls
in the
of yarn.
Yeah, and in the kitchen we can actually go see like, hey, these are Molly's like food and water bowls right there.
Yeah.
So it's like things. There's an attention to detail that is noticeable, I think, and appreciated.
How big is? Well, I guess I don't know if I want you to answer that, but like you said, all this unique geometry, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
How big is the play space? You said you could beat the game in a couple hours.
Yeah. Well,
but it seems like you were pretty thorough in looking at stuff. If you're discovering cat bowls and stuff,
there seems to be a lot to look at.
Yeah. So part of what we're doing
Great Grandpa Sven built a music box
is
for
it's not only about the space; it's about the stories that you encounter in the spaces, right? So it's the size of a big house. It's not some like surreal, sprawling. Well, you saw the weird tower. There are some weird things about the house.
Is the mom Laura Dern?
Maybe a little bit. So yeah, that's Edith, her mom Dawn, and her brothers Lewis and Milton. So one thing.
Whoa! Look at that.
Wow.
One thing we notice about the house is that doors have been sealed off.
Interesting. Don't do it, Joe.
Edie told me once that every Finch who ever lived is buried somewhere in the library.
Elise likes that.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, I'm going to play this now. There are a heck of a lot of books.
Yeah.
After Milton disappeared, Mom sealed up all the bedrooms.
That's a
And
really
Edie
strange thing to do.
retaliated.
Yeah. You could just lock them.
Yeah. Why seal them like tombs?
Yeah, and tombs is an interesting way to put it. So, what's interesting about the house is that everyone, like all of the Finches in this sort of branch of the family, lived in this house, and they all have their rooms. But, like I said, the family has a lot of misfortune, so they're dead. So a lot of the rooms are just sort of these like snapshots in time.
Spent 7 years sharing a room with his dead brother, Calvin.
So it's like, this is the childhood room of Edith's grandpa, Sam. And her, I don't know what the term for that would be. Her grandpa's brother, Calvin, who died when he was, 11 years old.
Like her great uncle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, is that what that would be? Yeah.
That would be.
Yep,
yeah.
that's great uncle. Or Gregory, who was
So she's
year
kind
old.
of trying to
As a kid,
find
I
out
just assumed every house
why
had holes and secret
everyone
rooms
has
no
been
one was
having
inside of.
premature deaths or.
Wait, Gregory had a toilet?
Well, yeah, that's a bathroom. So yeah, what your mission here is essentially is just to learn
Last
about
time I was in,
your
it's
family.
new.
It's not even necessarily
I was
finding the
told
why.
she was
It's
in the
things like these rooms have been sealed for as long as Edith really remembers. So like, she doesn't like. It's not like she used to go in these rooms all the time. They've sort of been sealed off to her, and now with her, her mom has died.
The door's open.
So
So-
is she the last remaining Finch?
So yeah, she's basically just the last remaining
Molly always
Finch.
seemed like a
So
girl
she
I could
decides to
actually
like come back to
with
this house and sort of
if she hadn't
get
died.
the answers that she never got before. And her mom left her the house and left her this key.
I spent a lot of time playing in Great Uncle Walter's room.
That's a really cool room. I
You
want
should
that
do that.
room.
Yeah. Paint it up.
Lewis told me there were secret passages, but I never believed him.
It's kind of weird to lock a book.
Turns out, my mom
Public
was really
domain?
good at
Yeah.
keeping secrets.
Oh, ta-da!
Whoa.
Now it was time to find out what my
Ooh.
mom had been afraid of.
That's pretty cool.
So this is where you sort of start getting to the meat of the game.
The paintings on the
Mil-
walls
oh, that's
were my
creepy.
brother Milton
Hey, it's Batman.
Reading this, maybe it sounds like I had a plan, but I had no idea.
Oh, there's all these little secret areas. I like it.
Yeah. So basically, all these rooms that have been sealed off, you find your way. You find your way into. And this isn't a game of like puzzles either. This isn't the sort of thing where it's like, oh, in order to get in there, I need to pull 3 switches or whatever. It's
Right.
usually it's kind of linear in the order that you proceed through the rooms. So it really is largely just focused on the narrative. So the rooms of your relatives
I
here
got the sense Edie had spent a lot of
have
time
like pretty much each one has its own little
outside
shrine.
doors.
And these are where you get transported into the stories of the person who the room belongs to.
Okay.
My general thing before I would do that, I like to take a look around the rooms first, just because like
Grew up looking at Molly's room through the peephole.
it's interesting how the sense of a character that
Molly's
you can
third little
get
tiny bedroom with its own
before you really even get through the whole thing, But
Gerbil poop up there. I saw
Yep.
it in the dish. It
And-
pooped in its food dish.
yep, and a little gerbil bedroom down there. Yep, gross.
7-year-old poop
Inside
right
for
there.
The first time, I felt like I'd stepped behind a painting.
Yeah, the detail's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
All the rooms feel very personalized too.
yeah, and that's I like that speaks to the point from before too about like them not just feeling like paint by numbers, sort of like, all right, we have a room, we need to fill it with stuff. That like it feels like it is filled with stuff that is relevant to that character's interests.
Yeah, it almost feels like looking around, like almost like it's all concept art. You
Yeah.
know? Like really detailed
So
drawings.
let's see what Molly's deal is.
December 13th, 1947. Dear Diary, I'll be gone soon, but I wanted to tell somebody about what's gonna happen. It started when Mom sent me to bed without dinner.
Uh-oh.
I woke up and I was starving, so I looked around for something to eat.
Oh, she ate the gerbil poop.
The gerbil food was dry, but I didn't mind it.
Ooh. Do what you gotta do, I guess.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, don't eat
Oh,
the fish.
Fishy. Poor boy.
I thought about.
I thought about eating Christopher, but I held back.
Christopher lives. How
I kept eating
how
and
surreal do these little playable moments go?
Well, we're gonna get to a good example here with Molly, I think.
Okay.
Oh man, that art was pretty good.
I ate a lot of things.
Oh, I don't think you should eat those.
You absolutely should not.
That's Oh well.
You could throw them up right there. You got a toilet to barf them up.
I heard chirping outside my window. It was a barn swallow going back to her nest.
Oh.
I reached out for her.
Oh.
Oh no,
What?
Joe, I don't know if I like this game.
Suddenly,
Hold on. Wait for it.
I think oh.
I was a cat.
Now I'm a cat.
I tried to be quiet, but the bird was really scared.
Oh boy.
So you want to know how surreal they get? You turn into a cat somehow.
Huh.
Let's see.
Where's that cat? Yeah.
So
I
close.
jumped and I almost got her.
So this is an example, I guess, of what I was getting at before about how, like,
Now I was up in the
instead of just reading about how these characters die, because that's what happens in these stories. I mean, there's not a whole lot of mystery about that. In that, like, you know, the Finches die. You know that you're the last one. So you're not just reading these final letters and stuff. You're generally getting to play through like these final moments one way or the other, which is
Ugh. Okay, so they
interesting.
don't show it.
I
At
was
least.
an owl.
What?
First, all I heard was
There's gonna be a lot of animal killing. I sense it.
nibbling in the grass.
Reiner keeps thinking he knows what's coming, and then
Yeah, it's like Final Destination, all the fake outs, and then when you least expect it. Are you controlling this?
yep.
Huh.
How are the controls? Is it pretty smooth?
Well, so the part we're here in right now, this is probably, in my mind, this is the least effective control section. Making the owl work the way I expect it to. I blew it on my first try, but
Looking up and seeing
Oh.
eyes through my cowl.
Is she actually eating that rabbit?
I swallowed him up, and
Yeah.
I didn't chew.
The whole thing.
so that's actually a good question, though, right? It's like she's clearly, I mean, probably not actually an owl, but like, to what extent are any of these sort of recollections real
Yeah,
or
did
not?
she eat
It
something out in
kind
the
of
wild?
Seems symbolic.
Yeah, exactly. So some, and that's a.
I like that.
She's probably hallucinating from eating those berries.
That's
And
also
the
a
carrot with
possibility.
like rat poop probably on it.
She was almost too
Oh, there we go. I got my trophy for getting 2 rabbits with 2 swoops.
but I couldn't stop eating.
Oh, that's awesome looking.
Yeah, they do that well.
And suddenly, I was a shark.
But yeah, so in all of these cases,
Oh.
oh yeah, don't worry about it. I'm a shark, rolling down a hill.
These transitions are great.
Are you controlling
amazing.
that?
Yep. Oh yeah, for
Oh,
sure.
you're
I'm
bouncing
flopping
around a
around and
little.
everything.
Okay, so she fell a long way.
So
Holy
the-
hell.
So these recollections are about, like, are from the perspective of the characters, right? So
The ocean.
they're kind of they've got some unreliable narrator stuff going on in some cases where you just have to sort of try and suss out how much of it is real and how much of it is perception.
Huh.
This is really interesting.
That's interesting.
Dark, disturbing, but beautifully done.
Yeah.
Did I get him? No.
Eat the seal.
Uh,
Invert.
yeah, sorry.
How dark does this get? I mean, are most of the story? I mean, they're all about deaths, so they're all going to be a little dark, I guess. But are there some that are more whimsical
him.
than others?
Why won't you eat him? There we go. I would say they're
And it tasted really good.
maybe. I mean, they're not all just like.
Especially if you're saying that some are like perception rather than what really happened.
Yeah. I mean, I think this one's probably the strongest example of, reality versus imagination. But, yeah, I mean, I guess it's hard for me to say that they get very like lighthearted. They end with death and disappearance in every
Sure.
case. So
Get him!
Ah.
there we go.
Tight.
Are there multiple endings?
So hungry.
No.
Out of the water.
So this really is a linear story
My eyes, everything.
through and
Yeah.
through.
Yep. Pretty much. Pretty linear. Oh yeah. And now we're this creepy thing.
Now I was a monster, and I smelled people everywhere.
Is that a water moccasin?
I think it's a tentacle.
Weird.
I don't think we are a traditional animal at this point.
Wow. What a wild game.
Yeah.
This is not what I expected.
And I moved real quiet.
And again, in my mind, like this is what sort of makes this game the next step forward in that sort of storytelling genre. Is the way it does sort of put you in the story in inventive ways versus just, in a more
To stop it, but also I did
passive capacity, I guess. Like it's not just about you listening to dialogue or reading things.
I mean, it was a walking simulator, a flying simulator, a swimming simulator, a tentacle simulator.
Tentacle
Yeah,
simulator.
it has you participating in very interesting ways. And I mean, and some of these, this may be one of the longer sequences that you run into also, because some of them are pretty short too.
Don't get the drunk. He's funny.
He had some good ambience, so yeah, leave him be.
Well, we'll let him.
Uh-oh.
So there's actually a trophy for letting him finish his song.
Oh, actually.
I'm not going to get it.
I was still hungry. And to cross the water, I smelled
This game is reminding me how hungry I am.
No, I think that's really what the developers were going for there, at least.
What in the hell?
Oh man, you're still that
smell went into my
thing.
pipe.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Is it going to be like it here? Is there a clown in here?
No.
Joe? I don't like clowns.
No clowns. There is toilets.
Oh, wow.
I
That's
got
a nightmare.
closer and closer.
Something coming out of the toilet like that?
Yeah, no thank you.
And this should look familiar.
Australia's like, that's just like every Friday night.
All of my stomach started growling.
Her several stomachs.
Yep.
And suddenly, I was me again. I held my breath for a long time, but I couldn't hear anything. I think it's waiting for me to fall asleep. But it's not going to wait much longer. It needs to be, and we both know I will be delicious.
What?
Yeah.
Huh.
So now imagine every sequence that you run into being like, I mean,
Wait,
Not sure if I believed all of that.
so all those characters you play as?
you get stories for all of those characters.
Okay. Wow.
So that's really the whole structure of the game, and we'll get into another one here too. But that's really the structure of the game, is just sort of going from room to room and
This will
finding
be obvious later,
the stories
but
of
my
your
mom
family members, and they're
stories.
not all like the one that we just played, and they're not all necessarily that like varied either. Some of them are shorter, some of them
When we adopted a
maybe
stepdad,
have a little more standard gameplay to them, but
I spent a lot of time
Interesting.
in great grandma.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to stop playing, but I think that's a pretty damn good look at one scenario from What Remains of Edith Finch. And wow, yeah, crazy.
Yeah, that's
Again,
nuts.
out on PS4 and PC. well worth a look. Joe gave it 8.75. You could read that review on GameInformer.com.
Yeah, I recommend this game. It is, especially if you like those storytelling games, it will not disappoint you.
Cool. Well, thanks, Joe. Thanks, Elise. And as always, Wade Wojcik in the control room. We couldn't do this without you. And all you watching, thanks for the support. We'll see you in another video.